The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran have announced a new series of military operations against targets linked to the United States and Israel as the ongoing conflict in the Middle East continues to escalate. The announcements came amid rising tensions, repeated missile exchanges, and mounting international concern over the widening scope of the war and its impact on global energy markets. Iranian military officials described the latest operations as part of a continuing retaliation campaign following what they say were earlier attacks on Iranian infrastructure and strategic facilities. The conflict intensified after coordinated strikes earlier this year between U.S. and Israeli forces against Iranian targets, which Tehran responded to with a sustained offensive it calls Operation True Promise 4. In a statement broadcast by Iranian authorities, the country's armed forces announced a new wave of strikes against Israeli energy infrastructure. Iranian military officials said, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the brave and courageous personnel of the Air Force, of the Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran, in a retaliatory response to the recent aggression against oil depots, launched a significant assault on the oil and gas refinery and fuel storage facilities of the Zionist regime in Haifa." Iranian officials said the attack was carried out as part of the 33rd wave of Operation True Promise 4, a series of coordinated missile and drone strikes that Tehran claims have targeted military and logistical infrastructure linked to Israel and the United States. According to Iranian military statements, one of the most significant targets was a communications installation located south of Tel Aviv. Iranian officials described the site as a critical satellite communications facility used by Israeli air bases and fighter aircraft operations. Iranian military officials said the Hila satellite communication center, situated just south of Tel Aviv, was completely destroyed. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the operation was carried out using specialized drones operated by its aerospace division. Iranian authorities claim the drones struck the facility during a coordinated operation designed to disrupt Israeli communications capabilities. Iranian officials said the destructive drones of the powerful aerospace force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps struck and completely destroyed this center. The claims regarding damage to the facility have not been independently verified, and both sides in the conflict have issued competing accounts about the scale and effectiveness of their respective attacks. Iranian authorities also reported that their forces launched missile strikes on American military facilities outside Israel. According to Iranian officials, a U.S. base in northern Iraq was targeted during the latest round of operations. Iranian officials said, furthermore, today the headquarters of the aggressive American army at the Harir base in the Kurdistan region was targeted with 5 missiles by the brave missile men of the Air Ground Force. The Harir air base near Erbil has long been used by American forces operating in Iraq, and it has previously been targeted during periods of heightened regional tension. The latest conflict has seen several U.S. installations across the Middle East come under attack as part of Iran's retaliation campaign. Iranian officials also claimed that the country's air defense systems successfully intercepted multiple enemy drones and missiles over Iranian territory. According to Iranian reports, an unmanned reconnaissance aircraft was shot down over central Iran. Iranian officials said an advanced orbiter for spy drone belonging to the enemy was targeted, shot down, and completely destroyed in the skies over Isfahan province. Further interceptions were reported over other provinces as Iranian forces sought to defend the country's airspace against surveillance and attack drones. Iranian officials said today a Heron drone was intercepted and destroyed in the skies over Markazi province, and a Heron TP drone was also brought down near the airspace of Tehran province. Both drones, according to Iranian military statements, were intercepted using advanced defense systems integrated into Iran's national air defense network. Iranian authorities also reported additional drone interceptions in western Iran. Iranian officials said additionally 2 Hermes 900 unmanned aerial vehicles were successfully intercepted and brought down by the sophisticated air defense systems of the Army's Air Defense Force. As with many claims issued by both sides during the conflict, independent confirmation of the reported interceptions has been limited. Iranian military leaders concluded their statement with a pledge that the confrontation with the United States and Israel would continue until Iran achieves what it describes as victory. Iranian officials said the battle against the criminal American regime and the child-killing Zionist entity will continue until the ultimate victory of the righteous front over the forces of evil. The statement also revealed that additional attacks had already begun shortly after the previous wave concluded. Iranian officials said just hours ago the 34th wave of Operation True Promise 4 was launched. Iranian officials explained that the latest round of attacks carried symbolic significance tied to a religious commemoration. Iranian officials said this occurred on the night commemorating the martyrdom of the commander of the faithful under the sacred code Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. According to the statement, the latest attacks targeted American and Israeli military support infrastructure and involved the use of high-precision missiles. Iranian officials said the operation targeted military and logistical support bases belonging to the United States and the Zionist regime, executed with precision-guided missiles equipped with warheads weighing over 1 ton. While Iran has portrayed the strikes as successful, officials in Washington and Tel Aviv have disputed many of Tehran's claims regarding the scale of damage inflicted. As the military confrontation intensifies, Iranian political leaders have also signaled that the country is not currently seeking a ceasefire. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran is prepared to continue its operations for as long as necessary. In remarks during an interview with an American broadcaster, Araghchi indicated that negotiations with the United States were no longer being considered while hostilities continue. Iranian officials also revealed that several countries have contacted Tehran in an attempt to mediate an end to the conflict. These contacts reportedly include major international powers as well as several countries from the Middle East. Iran's foreign ministry acknowledged that diplomatic messages have been received, but insisted that the decision to halt military operations ultimately rests with Tehran. Iranian officials argued that the countries responsible for initiating the conflict must first accept responsibility and provide guarantees that similar attacks will not happen again before Iran would consider stopping its operations. Iranian representatives also suggested that Tehran currently holds a strategic advantage in the conflict, pointing to disruptions in global energy markets as evidence that the campaign is exerting pressure on its adversaries. The conflict has already triggered sharp fluctuations in oil prices, particularly due to tensions surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. The narrow waterway is one of the world's most important oil shipping routes, with roughly 1/5 of global petroleum shipments passing through it. Iran has previously threatened to block the strait if the conflict intensifies further, a move that analysts warn could have major consequences for the global economy. Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump has suggested that the conflict could end relatively soon. Speaking to reporters, Trump expressed confidence that American military operations had achieved their objectives. Donald Trump said, "I think so very soon." Trump also claimed that Iranian leadership structures have been severely weakened by recent strikes. Donald Trump said everything they have is gone, including their leadership. He added that multiple layers of Iran's command system have been targeted during the conflict. Donald Trump said 2 levels of leadership are gone. The U.S. president also defended the decision to launch military operations, arguing that Iran posed a major threat to regional stability. Donald Trump said Iran's a very powerful country. They were going to take over the Middle East. Trump insisted that American intervention prevented a broader regional conflict. Donald Trump said we stopped it with good timing. He also warned that the United States could escalate its military response if Iran continues targeting regional allies or disrupting energy shipments through the Persian Gulf. Despite the confident public messaging from the White House, reports indicate that internal discussions are taking place within the U.S. administration about how to end the conflict. Some advisors have reportedly encouraged Trump to present a clearer strategy for bringing the war to a conclusion, particularly as economic concerns grow. Rising oil prices and the possibility of prolonged instability in the Middle East have raised concerns among policymakers and political strategists. Public opinion in the United States has also become an important factor. Surveys conducted in recent days suggest that many Americans are wary of becoming involved in another long-term overseas conflict. Some political advisors have reportedly warned that a prolonged war could create challenges ahead of upcoming elections. Economic pressures are also mounting internationally as governments grapple with the consequences of higher energy prices and disrupted supply chains. Israel has already taken steps to revise its national budget in response to the increased cost of military operations as the conflict continues. Analysts say the broader economic impact will depend largely on whether the conflict expands further or begins to move toward a negotiated settlement. For now, both sides appear determined to continue fighting. Iran has pledged to maintain its campaign of missile and drone attacks until its conditions are met, while the United States and Israel insist their operations will continue until Iran's military capabilities are significantly weakened. With each new wave of strikes, the risk of further escalation grows, and diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire remain uncertain. As the conflict continues to evolve, the question of how and when the war will end remains one of the most pressing issues facing the international community.